I never thought my own brother would be the one to teach me that blood isn't always thicker than water. Actually, that's not quite true. I always knew Jake was selfish, but I thought there were limits. I thought family meant something to him, even if it was just a small something. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning, around 8:30. I remember because I had just sat down with my first coffee of the day, still in my pajamas, looking forward to a rare quiet morning. My husband Chen was already at work, and I had the day off. I was planning to do absolutely nothing productive, maybe binge a show, maybe read that book that had been sitting on my nightstand for 3 months. Simple pleasures. Then my doorbell rang, not a polite single ring either, but that aggressive repeated ringing that immediately spikes your blood pressure. The kind that says someone's holding their finger on the button. I knew before I even got to the door that it was going to ruin my day. I just didn't know how much. I opened the door to find my brother Jake, his wife Monica, and their 3 kids, Ashton who's 9, Braley who's 7, and Jordan who's 4. The kids looked confused and tired, each holding a small backpack. Jake and Monica, on the other hand, looked absolutely gleeful, practically vibrating with excitement. "Hey sis," Jake said, already moving past me into my house without waiting for an invitation. Monica followed, ushering the kids in. "You're not going to believe this, but Monica's dad totally surprised us with a trip to the Maldives. 10 days, all expenses paid, staying at some incredible resort. We leave in like 3 hours." I stood there still holding my coffee, trying to process what was happening. "That's great, congratulations." "Right?" Monica chimed in, her voice that particular pitch of fake sweetness she uses when she wants something. "It's our anniversary gift, apparently. Richard really went all out this year. Overwater bungalows, spa treatments, the works. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing." I looked at the kids, who were now scattered around my living room. Jordan was already touching my decorative vases. "Okay, well, have a great time. Why are you here with the kids?" Jake laughed like I'd made a hilarious joke. "Because you're watching them, obviously. We can't take them to the Maldives, it's an adult resort. Plus the tickets are just for 2, and Richard isn't going to change them. This works out perfectly because you've been saying you never get to spend enough time with your nieces and nephew." I definitely had never said that. I loved my nieces and nephew in theory, but in practice they were exhausting. Jake and Monica's parenting style was what I'd charitably call hands-off, and what Chen called raising feral animals. The kids had no discipline, no boundaries, and no concept of the word no. "Jake, I can't watch your kids for 10 days. I have work, I have a life. You can't just drop them off without asking first." Monica's smile tightened. "Oh, come on, you just said you have the day off. And Jake mentioned you have vacation days saved up. This is family. Family helps each other out. You need to ask me first. You can't just assume I'm available to provide free childcare for 10 days. Jake's expression shifted from cheerful to annoyed in a heartbeat. "Seriously, we're talking about the Maldives here. When are we ever going to get another chance like this? Don't be selfish." That word, selfish, coming from possibly the most selfish person I'd ever known. My brother, who had borrowed money from me at least a dozen times and paid it back exactly never. Who had missed my wedding because he forgot to book the day off work, but who had never missed a single golf trip with his buddies. Who had asked me to be in the delivery room when Ashton was born and then uninvited me at the last second because Monica's friend wanted to be there instead. "I'm being selfish. You're literally trying to dump your kids on me so you can go on vacation." "It's our anniversary," Monica said, like that explained everything. "Surely you understand the importance of keeping romance alive in a marriage." "Oh wait." She glanced around my house with this pitying expression. "I forgot you and Chen don't really do romantic gestures. When was the last time he surprised you with anything?" It was a low blow and she knew it. Chen wasn't big on grand gestures, but he was thoughtful in small ways. He brought me tea every morning. He remembered every story I told him. He supported my career even when it meant sacrifices for his own. But Monica had always looked down on him, I think partly because he didn't make as much money as Jake, and partly because he was quieter, less flashy. "My marriage is fine, Monica, and this isn't about that. This is about you assuming you can just leave your children with me without even asking if I'm willing or able to do it." Jake pulled out his phone and started scrolling. "Look, our flight leaves at noon. We still have to go home, grab our bags, and get to the airport. We don't have time for this drama. The kids will be fine here. You've got that spare room they can share. We left their bags in the car. I'll grab them." "Jake, no, I'm saying no. You need to find someone else." He wasn't even listening, already heading back outside to their SUV. Monica sat down on my couch, pulling out her own phone. "Ashton, Braley, Jordan, come say goodbye to Mommy and Daddy." This was insane. They were actually going to leave. I pulled out my phone and called Jake's number. He declined it. I tried again, declined again. He came back in carrying 2 large duffel bags and a booster seat. Okay, so Jordan still needs the booster seat in the car. Ashton has his iPad, but the charger is in the blue bag. Braylee is on an antibiotic for an ear infection. It's the pink liquid. She needs it twice a day. Oh, and Jordan is being potty trained, so she's in pull-ups, but you need to take her to the bathroom every hour or she'll have an accident. Jake, I am not agreeing to this. Monica was hugging the kids now, getting lipstick on their foreheads. Now you 3 be good for Auntie, okay? Listen to what she says and remember that Mommy and Daddy love you very much. Braylee started crying. I want to go with you. Oh, sweetie, you can't, but we'll bring you back something special, okay? Maybe a big stuffed dolphin. All 3 kids were crying now. Jordan was clinging to Monica's leg. Ashton was trying to act tough, but his chin was wobbling. My heart broke for them, even as rage burned in my chest at my brother. You're really going to do this? Just leave them here crying. Jake had the audacity to look defensive. They'll calm down in like 5 minutes, they're just being dramatic. Kids are resilient. Look, we really appreciate this. We'll bring you back something nice. Maybe some of that coconut oil stuff you like. I don't even use coconut oil. He was thinking of someone else entirely. They were moving toward the door now. Monica blew kisses at the kids. Jake gave me this 2-finger salute he probably thought was charming. You're the best, sis. I owe you one. He owed me about 100 at this point, but who was counting? And then they were gone, out the door, into their car, backing out of my driveway while 3 children sobbed in my living room, and I stood there in my pajamas, coffee long cold, perfect quiet morning destroyed. I tried calling Jake 6 more times. Every call went to voicemail. I called Monica, same thing. I sent texts, no response. I even tried calling Monica's dad, Richard, but I didn't actually have his number saved and couldn't find it. The kids cried for 20 minutes before exhausting themselves. Jordan fell asleep on my couch, tear tracks still on her face. Ashton retreated into his iPad, earbuds in, ignoring the world. Braylee just stared at me with these big, accusing eyes, like I was personally responsible for her parents abandoning her. I called Chen. He was in a meeting but texted back, "What's wrong?" Jake and Monica dropped their kids off and left for the Maldives, for 10 days, without asking first. My phone rang immediately. Chen, meeting be damned. They did what? I explained the whole thing while pulling out the bags Jake had left, trying to see what I was working with. Some clothes, not enough for 10 days, the iPad charger, a stuffed dinosaur, the antibiotic Monica mentioned, but no other medications or first aid supplies, no toothbrushes, no car seats except the 1 booster. That's insane, Chen said. Even for Jake, that's insane. What do? I have work tomorrow. You have work. We can't just take care of 3 kids with 0 notice. Call the police, report them for child abandonment. I actually considered it for a solid 30 seconds, but they were my nieces and nephew. Getting the police involved felt nuclear, and I could already hear my mother's voice in my head, telling me I was overreacting, asking why I couldn't just help out family. I'll use my vacation days, I finally said. I have 2 weeks saved. I was planning to use them for our trip to visit your parents next month, but I guess this is more urgent. Are you sure? We can find another way. We can call your parents, make them deal with this. My parents, Dad was recovering from knee surgery and Mom was his full-time caretaker at the moment. They were in no position to take 3 energetic kids. Plus, they'd probably take Jake's side. They always had. It's fine, I'll make it work. Can you come home early today though? I need backup. I'll leave in an hour. After we hung up, I looked at the 3 kids in my care. This was going to be the longest 10 days of my life. I was wrong though. It wasn't just long. It was absolutely hellish in ways I couldn't have imagined. Day 1 after Chen came home, we took the kids to get toothbrushes and more appropriate clothes. Jordan had a meltdown in Target because I wouldn't buy her a $70 Elsa dress. Braylee shoplifted a candy bar, and I didn't discover it until we were already home. Ashton complained the entire time that he was bored and this was stupid, and why couldn't he just stay home? Day 2, I called into work and used a vacation day. I tried to establish some kind of routine with the kids. Breakfast, morning activity, lunch, quiet time, afternoon activity, dinner, bed. It worked for about 45 minutes before Jordan announced she didn't like anything I made for breakfast and Ashton said quiet time was for babies, and Braylee started crying again for her mom. Day 3, I forgot to give Braylee her antibiotic on time, and she threw up all over my guest bed. While I was dealing with that, Jordan took off her pull-up and peed on my living room rug. Ashton, unsupervised for 15 minutes, found the permanent markers, and drew a mural on the hallway wall. Day 4, I tried to reach Jake, still going to voicemail. I sent increasingly frantic messages. Jake, Braley is sick. I need Monica's pediatrician info. Jake, what's Jordan's routine? She won't sleep. Jake, I need you to send money for expenses. I've spent over $300 already. No responses. Day 5, Chen and I had our first real fight in months. He came home to find the kitchen destroyed, all 3 kids screaming, and me locked in the bathroom trying not to cry. He said something about me needing to establish boundaries with my brother. I said something about him not understanding family obligation. We both said things we didn't mean. We apologized later, but the damage was done. This was creating cracks in my marriage. Day 6, I called my mom. Mistake. Oh honey, I'm sure Jake didn't mean to impose. You know how he is, he gets excited and doesn't think things through. But it's so good for the kids to bond with their aunt, make some memories. When I tried to explain how hard it was, how unprepared I was, she cut me off. Parenting is hard for everyone, sweetie. You're getting a little practice run, like I was auditioning for a role I'd asked for. Day 7, Monica posted on Instagram a photo of her and Jake on a beach at sunset, cocktails in hand, with the caption, "Paradise with my love, so grateful for this time to reconnect. Maldives anniversary trip blessed, so in love." I commented, "Glad you're having fun. Would love an update on when you're coming back and reimbursement for kid expenses." She deleted my comment within 5 minutes, then she blocked me. Day 8, Jordan came down with a fever. I took her to an urgent care clinic, which took 3 hours because I wasn't the parent and didn't have her insurance information. They couldn't do much without it. I paid out of pocket for the visit and basic tests. Another $200. Jordan didn't have anything serious, just a virus, but she was miserable and clingy. She wanted her mom. She cried for her mom. My heart broke all over again, and my rage at Jake and Monica reached new heights. Day 9, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw Monica's friend Tessa had posted. She was in the Maldives too, at the same resort. There were photos of her with her husband, with Jake and Monica, big group shots of them all having dinner together. This wasn't a last-minute surprise from Monica's dad. This was a planned group vacation. They'd known about it for weeks, maybe months, long enough to plan, to coordinate, to book everything. They'd lied. They'd deliberately lied to me. I took screenshots of everything, every post, every photo, every caption mentioning how long they'd been planning this trip. Day 10, they didn't come home. I woke up expecting a text with their flight information. Nothing. I called, voicemail, I texted, no response. At 8 p.m., I finally got a message from Jake. "Hey, so we extended the trip. Monica's dad offered to pay for 3 more days, and we couldn't say no. Be home Friday instead of tomorrow. Thanks for being flexible." Friday, 3 more days. I hadn't agreed to 10 days in the first place, and now they were adding more. I called him immediately. For once, he answered, probably because he was confident enough in his position to face me. "Jake, you need to come home tomorrow." "Can't already change the flights. Come on, don't be like this. It's just 3 more days." "Just 3 more days, just. You dumped your kids on me without asking, lied about it being a last-minute surprise, and now you're extending your vacation. I have a life, Jake. I've used all my vacation days. I've spent over $600 of my own money. Your daughter has been sick, and you haven't answered any of my messages." "Wow, okay, you're being really dramatic right now. The kids are fine, aren't they? And I'll pay you back for whatever you spent. Relax." When will you pay me back? You still owe me $3,000 from when you borrowed it 2 years ago for your truck down payment." Monica's voice in the background. "Is she being difficult? Let me talk to her." "I don't want to talk to Monica. I want you to get on a plane tomorrow and come get your children." "That's not happening. The flights are already changed. Look, I'm sorry you're stressed, but you're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. We'll be back Friday. Let the kids stay up late and eat ice cream or whatever. Be the fun aunt. Stop being so uptight about everything." He hung up. I sat there, shaking with anger. Chen found me like that 20 minutes later. "They're not coming back tomorrow, are they?" "Friday, 3 more days." He sat down next to me and I could see he was angry too. Chen almost never got angry. "This ends when they get back. However you want to handle it, I'm with you. But this can never happen again." That night, after the kids were finally asleep, I started planning. Jake thought he could just use me whenever it was convenient for him. Monica thought she could block me and ignore the consequences of leaving her children. They had no idea what was coming. I started with documentation. I went through my texts, my call logs, my bank statements. I documented every expense, every attempt to contact them, every issue I dealt with. I saved every Instagram post, every Facebook update. I created a detailed spreadsheet. Then I did some digging. I went through Jake's social media more carefully, Monica's too, before she'd blocked me. I looked at their friends' accounts. I pieced together a timeline. They'd been planning this trip since at least February. It was now June, 4 months of planning. There were comments on posts from March about the Maldives countdown, photos of Monica shopping for swimsuits for the big trip in April. Jake had posted in May about getting his scuba certification just in time. 4 months, they'd had 4 months to arrange childcare, 4 months to ask me properly, 4 months to make literally any other plan, but they'd waited until the last second and ambushed me because they knew I'd say no if given the chance to think about it. I found something else too. Monica's dad Richard hadn't paid for this trip. Monica's company had. She'd won some kind of sales incentive, an all-expenses-paid trip for top performers. There was a post about it on her company's Facebook page from January, congratulating her and 3 other salespeople. Tessa was one of the other winners. Every single thing they'd told me was a lie. Friday came, I got a text at 10 a.m. Flight delayed, won't be there until tonight, maybe 9 or 10 p.m. I responded, fine, we need to talk when you arrive. Uh-oh, someone's in trouble, with a laughing emoji. This man really thought this was funny. He really thought he could joke his way out of this like he joked his way out of everything. I spent the day getting ready. I packed all the kids' belongings. I cleaned my house top to bottom, erasing the evidence of the chaos of the last 2 weeks. I printed out my expense spreadsheet. I compiled my evidence of their lies. Chen got home at 6. Are you sure about this? Completely. Okay, then let's do it. Jake and Monica finally showed up at 10:47 p.m., 13 days after they'd dropped the kids off. They came in loud and cheerful, tanned and relaxed, carrying expensive-looking shopping bags. The kids who had kept awake ran to them. There was hugging and crying, and I missed you so much. Jordan wouldn't let go of Monica. Braley was talking a mile a minute about everything they'd done. Even Ashton, too cool for emotions, was glued to Jake's side. I let them have their reunion. I waited until the initial excitement died down, and Jake turned to me with that easy smile he probably thought was charming. See, they're fine. I told you it would be no big deal. We need to talk. Chen can watch the kids in the playroom. Monica rolled her eyes. Can this wait? We're exhausted from traveling. No, it can't. Something in my tone must have registered because Jake's smile faltered. Okay, sure, let's talk. We sat in the living room. I had my folder of documents. Chen took the kids to the other room, though I knew he was listening. So I know you lied to me about all of it. This wasn't a last-minute surprise from Richard. Monica won this trip through her work. You've been planning it since at least February. Monica's face flushed. Who told you that? Did you go snooping through our private? You posted about it publicly on social media, multiple times. You just assumed I wouldn't look or wouldn't care. You lied to me to manipulate me into watching your kids because you knew if you asked me in advance, I'd say no. Jake leaned back, arms crossed. Okay, fine. We didn't tell you the exact truth about how the trip came up, but what difference does it make? You watched the kids, we had our trip, everyone's fine. What difference does it make? You completely violated my trust. You dumped 3 kids on me with no notice, no supplies, incomplete medical information. Braley was on antibiotics and I had to guess at the dosage because you wouldn't answer your phone. Jordan had a fever and I couldn't take her to her regular doctor because I didn't have insurance information. I had to use all my vacation days. I spent over $600 of my own money. My marriage was stressed to the breaking point. And you extended your trip without even asking if that was okay. Monica waved her hand dismissively. Oh please, you're being so dramatic. $600 over 2 weeks, that's nothing. We spend that on groceries alone. Then you can pay me back right now. We're not paying you to watch your own nieces and nephew. Family doesn't charge family for babysitting. Family doesn't abandon their children with family without permission. Jake stood up. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Yes, we should have been more upfront about the trip. I'm sorry for that, but you're acting like we committed some major crime. We asked you to watch the kids for a bit so we could have a vacation. That's not crazy. That's normal family stuff. You didn't ask. That's the entire point. You showed up at my door and left before I could say no. That's not asking, that's ambushing. Because you would have said no, you always say no to everything. Help with the kids for an afternoon. No, you're busy. Come to Ashton's birthday party. No, you have plans. Be a part of this family. No, you're too important with your job and your perfect little life. There it was, the real resentment, bubbling up. In Jake's mind, I was the selfish one for having boundaries, for not dropping everything whenever he needed something. I came to Ashton's birthday party. I was there for 2 hours. You left early. I left when it was supposed to end. You extended it without telling anyone and got mad when people had other commitments. Monica stood now too. You know what? We don't need this. We came back, the kids are fine, we're going home. Thank you so much for your help, dripping with sarcasm. You need to pay me back for the expenses, and you need to apologize, a real apology. Jake laughed, actually laughed. We're not doing either of those things. You're our family. You should want to help us out. The fact that you're demanding money is honestly disgusting. The fact that you think you can use me like a free hotel, an ATM, is disgusting. We're leaving. Monica was gathering kids now, hustling them toward the door. Jordan was crying again, confused by the angry voices. Braley looked scared. Ashton just looked tired. Jake grabbed the bags I'd packed. Don't expect us to come around for a while. You've made it very clear that we're not welcome here unless it's convenient for you. The hypocrisy was breathtaking, but I let them go. I'd said what I needed to say. They were never going to understand, never going to take responsibility. That was fine. I had other plans. After they left, Chen came back into the living room. That went about how we expected. Yep, okay, phase 2. Over the next week, I executed the rest of my plan. First, I sent a detailed email to my entire family. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. I laid out exactly what had happened, with dates, times, and receipts. I attached my expense spreadsheet. I included screenshots of Jake and Monica's social media posts proving they'd planned the trip months in advance. I didn't editorialize much. I didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. The response was mixed. My mother called, asking why I was airing family business, and couldn't I have handled this privately. I pointed out I'd tried to handle it privately and been laughed at. My dad said Jake should pay me back, but also I should let it go because holding grudges isn't healthy. But my Aunt Carol, my dad's sister, sent me a check for $600 with a note. Your brother has always been a selfish ass. Your mom babies him. I'm sorry they did this to you. That was validating. My cousin Michelle, who had her own stories of Jake borrowing money and never repaying it, shared my email with commentary about his pattern of behavior. A few other family members chimed in with their own experiences. Jake sent me a furious text. Thanks a lot for turning the family against us. Really mature. I didn't respond. Second, I called Monica's company. I asked to speak to HR. I explained that I understood Monica had won a sales incentive trip and that I was calling because during that trip, I'd been left without notice to care for her children, incurring significant expenses and personal hardship. I asked if the company was aware that their incentive trip had resulted in what could potentially be considered child endangerment, and whether they had policies about how employees arranged childcare during company-sponsored travel. I wasn't trying to get Monica fired. I just wanted to create a consequence, a record, something that said actions matter. The HR person I spoke to was very careful in her responses, but I could tell she was taking notes. She asked for details. I provided them. She thanked me for bringing this to their attention. 2 days later, Monica called me from an unknown number, screaming, "You called my work. Are you insane? You could cost me my job. Over what, babysitting?" I didn't lie to your job. I told them exactly what happened. If that reflects poorly on you, maybe that's something you should think about. You're vindictive and petty, and I always knew Chen could do better than you. You're just jealous that Jake and I have a real partnership, a real family, and you're stuck in your sad little life. If you and Jake have such a real partnership, why did you need to abandon your kids with me to maintain your relationship? She hung up. Third, and most importantly, I filed a small claims court case against Jake and Monica for the $637.84 I'd spent on their children, plus the value of 13 days of childcare at the going rate for 3 children in our area. I looked up licensed childcare rates. For 3 kids, ages 4, 7, and 9, full-time care in our city averaged about $450 per day. For 13 days, that came to $5,850. Plus my $637.84 in expenses, I was suing them for $6,487.84. It was petty. It was probably going to damage our relationship beyond repair. I didn't care anymore. When Jake got served with the court papers, he called me, not angry this time, shocked. You're actually suing me, your own brother. You actually abandoned your kids with me without permission and refused to pay me back, your own sister. This is insane. No judge is going to side with you. Your family, you watched the kids voluntarily. I guess we'll find out. I knew I might not win. Family cases are complicated, and judges don't always side with the person who's technically right. But I didn't care. I wanted Jake to have to take a day off work, show up to court, explain his actions to a judge. I wanted there to be a consequence. The court date was set for 8 weeks out. In the meantime, my family fractured along predictable lines. My mother was appalled at me. My father was disappointed in both of you. Jake's friends circled the wagons, posting vague things on social media about fake family and knowing who's really there for you. But I also got messages of support. Monica's sister Rebecca reached out. Monica has always been entitled. I'm glad someone finally stood up to her. My childhood best friend. I can't believe they did that to you. I'm here if you need anything. Even some of Jake's friends, the ones who'd actually met his kids and knew what nightmares they could be, sent me private messages of support. Chen's parents called to offer their support too. Family should treat each other with respect, his mother said. Your brother didn't do that. You're right to stand up for yourself. Work was awkward for a bit because I'd had to explain why I'd suddenly used all my vacation days. My boss was sympathetic, but made it clear I wouldn't have any more PTO for the rest of the year. That meant we couldn't visit Chen's parents like we'd planned, another casualty of Jake's selfishness. 6 weeks before the court date, Jake sent me a text. Can we talk in person, just you and me? I agreed to meet him at a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between our houses. I told Chen where I'd be and when to expect me back. I didn't trust Jake not to try something. He showed up looking rough, tired, older somehow. We got coffee and sat in a corner booth. I want to drop this, he said. The lawsuit, the family drama, all of it. Then pay me what you owe me. I don't have $6,000 just lying around. Then we go to courts. He ran his hands through his hair. Monica's work thing. They didn't fire her, but she got a formal warning in her file. It's going to affect her next promotion. And the family stuff, Mom's been on my case nonstop. And now this lawsuit, I just want it to be over. So make it be over, pay me back. I can give you the $637 for the expenses, but the childcare rates thing, that's ridiculous. You're not a licensed childcare provider. You can't charge professional rates. Then we'll let the judge decide what's fair. Why are you doing this? Is it really about the money? I looked at my brother, this person I'd grown up with, who I'd looked up to as a kid, who had become someone I barely recognized. It's not about the money, Jake. It's about the fact that you used me. You lied to me, manipulated me, and then laughed about it. You didn't care how it affected me, my marriage, my job, my life. You just cared about getting what you wanted. And when I called you on it, you made me out to be the villain. So no, it's not about the money. It's about the principle that you can't just treat people like garbage without consequences. You're my sister. And you're my brother. That should have meant you treated me better, not worse. We sat in silence for a while. Finally, Jake spoke again. What if I pay you $2,000, the expenses plus a couple thousand for your time, and I apologize for real, and we try to move past this? What about the money you already owe me, the $3,000 from 2 years ago? He winced. I can't pay all of that at once, but I can set up a payment plan, $200 a month until it's paid off. I did the math. That was 15 months for the old debt. It was something at least. $2,000 for this situation, plus $300 a month for the old debt, and the apology needs to be real. I need you to actually understand what you did wrong. $250 a month. $300 or we go to court and you risk owing more. He agreed. We drew up a simple contract right there in the coffee shop. I dropped the lawsuit when I received the first payment of $2,000. He'd pay $300 a month on the first of each month until the $3,000 debt was cleared. If he missed a payment, I could refile the lawsuit. Then came the apology. I'm sorry I didn't ask you properly about watching the kids. I'm sorry we lied about the trip. I'm sorry I didn't answer your calls or messages while we were gone. And I'm sorry I extended the trip without checking with you first. It was rehearsed, hitting all the points without real feeling behind it, but it was more than I'd expected from Jake. Why did you do it? I asked. If you just asked me in advance, explained the situation, we could have worked something out. I would have helped you find a babysitter or watched the kids for a few days while you found other coverage. Why the ambush? He was quiet for a long time, because you would have said no, or you would have made it difficult. You'd have had conditions and rules, and I just wanted it to be easy. I wanted to go on this trip with my wife and not have to worry about logistics. And I thought, you're my sister, you love the kids, it would be fine. I didn't think it through. You didn't think about me at all. No, he admitted. I didn't. I thought about what I wanted, and I figured you'd deal with it. That's a pattern with me, isn't it? I do that to a lot of people. It was the closest thing to real self-awareness I'd ever heard from him. Yes, you do. I'm going to try to be better about that. I didn't believe him, not really. People don't change that easily, but I appreciated the gesture. I dropped the lawsuit after I received the first $2,000. Jake actually followed through, which surprised me. The first few $300 payments came on time too. I was cautiously optimistic that maybe, just maybe, something had shifted. But the family damage was done. My relationship with my parents was strained. They thought I'd gone too far with the lawsuit, that I'd humiliated Jake publicly. I thought they'd enabled his behavior for too long and were mad that I'd broken the unspoken rule of protecting him from consequences. My relationship with Jake and Monica was permanently altered. We were civil at family events, but the warmth was gone. Monica never really forgave me for calling her work. Jake was resentful about the payments, even though he'd agreed to them. The kids asked a few times why they didn't come to our house anymore. I heard through the family grapevine that Jake and Monica told them, Auntie is very busy with work. Not a lie, but not the truth either. Chen and I grew closer through it all. He'd seen me at my worst, stressed and angry and crying, and he'd stood by me. We'd fought, but we'd worked through it. Our marriage was stronger for it. About 4 months after the coffee shop meeting, I got a call from my cousin Michelle. You need to check Monica's Instagram. I'd never unblocked her, but Michelle sent me screenshots. Monica had posted a long caption about toxic family members and setting boundaries and choosing peace over drama. It was clearly about me, though she didn't use my name. The comments were full of support from people who had no idea what had actually happened. Good for you for protecting your family. Blood doesn't mean you have to tolerate abuse. So proud of you for standing up for yourself. I laughed. The irony was too much. Monica was positioning herself as the victim, the one setting healthy boundaries, when she'd been the one who'd violated every boundary I had. I thought about responding, about posting the truth, but what was the point? The people who mattered knew the real story. Everyone else, their opinions didn't matter to me. Chen found me scrolling through the screenshots. You okay? Yeah, it's just funny, in a sad way. Are you glad you did it? The lawsuit, all of it. I thought about it. The money was nice, though I'd spent most of it on the vacation time I'd lost. The apology had been hollow. The family drama had been exhausting. But I'd stood up for myself. I'd set a boundary and enforced it. I'd shown Jake and Monica and everyone else that I wasn't a doormat. That meant something. Yeah, I said, I'm glad. About 8 months after the whole thing started, the monthly $300 payment stopped. I texted Jake. No response. I called. Voicemail. I sent a formal letter reminding him of our agreement. Finally, Monica texted me from a new number. Jake lost his job. We can't afford the payments right now. You'll have to wait. I could have refiled the lawsuit. I could have pushed. But I was tired. I'd made my point. I let it go. Until Christmas. My parents hosted like always. They invited everyone, including me and Chen and Jake and Monica and the kids. I wasn't planning to go, but Chen convinced me. It's your family. Don't let them take that from you. We showed up with gifts for the kids. We were polite and civil. Jake and Monica mostly avoided us. Then after dinner, my mother made a speech. She did this every year, a little toast about family and gratitude. This year she ended with, and I'm so grateful that everyone could put aside their differences and come together. Family is about forgiveness. It's about moving past disagreements and remembering what really matters. She was looking right at me. I felt Chen's hand on my knee, a gentle warning. Don't engage, let it go. But I was done letting things go. I stood up. Mom, can I say something? She looked nervous but nodded. I agree that family is important, but family isn't just about forgiveness. It's also about respect. It's about treating each other well in the first place so there's less to forgive. It's about not taking advantage of the people who love you. The room was dead silent. I forgive Jake for what happened, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it never happened, and it doesn't mean I'm required to put myself in a position to be used again. Monica stood up. Are you seriously doing this? At Christmas, in front of the children. I'm doing this because I'm tired of being the villain in a story where I was the victim. You and Jake lied to me, used me, and then made me out to be the bad guy for being upset about it. And I'm not going to keep quiet about it just to keep the peace. Jake stood now too. We apologized. I'm paying you back. What more do you want? You stopped paying me back 3 months ago. My mother gasped. Jake, is that true? I lost my job, Mom. We're struggling. I can't afford to pay her right now. But you could afford the new PlayStation I saw in your living room, Chen said quietly. Everyone looked at him. He shrugged. I used your bathroom when we first got here. Saw it by the TV. That's a $500 console at least. Jake's face went red. That was a gift from Monica's parents. So you have money for gifts, but not to pay back your debts, I said. The argument spiraled from there. Monica screaming at me yelling back. Jake and Chen almost getting physical before my dad stepped between them. My mother crying. The kids definitely traumatized. We left. Chen drove while I sat in the passenger seat, shaking. That was a disaster, I said. Yep. I shouldn't have said anything. Maybe, but I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. We didn't go to any more family events. My parents invited us to things, but it was always with the caveat that Jake and Monica would be there, and could we please not cause a scene, as if I'd been the one to cause it in the first place. I started building a new sense of family. Chen's relatives became more important to me. My friends, the ones who'd supported me through everything, became my chosen family. My Aunt Carol invited me to her family events, separate from the main family gatherings. It was lonely sometimes. I missed the idea of my family, the family I'd thought I had, but I didn't miss the reality of it, the constant prioritization of Jake's feelings over mine, the expectation that I'd just accept whatever he did. 1 year after the Maldives disaster, I got a letter in the mail from Jake. Not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter. He told me he'd been in therapy, that Monica had threatened to leave him if he didn't work on his issues, that he was starting to understand the ways he'd hurt people throughout his life, including me. He took responsibility in a way he never had before. He acknowledged that he'd manipulated me, lied to me, used me. He acknowledged the pattern of borrowing money and not repaying it, of making promises he didn't keep. He acknowledged that his refusal to pay me back had been about ego, about not wanting to admit he'd been wrong. He included a check for $1,500. It was all he could afford at the moment, but he committed to paying the rest in installments again. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't ask for our relationship to go back to how it was. He just said he was sorry, and he understood if I never wanted to speak to him again. I cashed the check. I didn't respond to the letter. 2 months later, another letter, another $300, a brief note. I'm keeping my commitment. This continued, every month, a check and a brief note. After 6 months of consistent payments, I sent him a text. Thank you for following through. He responded, it's the least I can do. We didn't rebuild our relationship quickly. We didn't go back to being close. But slowly, carefully, we built something new, something based on honesty instead of assumption, on respect instead of obligation. Monica never apologized. We remained civil but distant. I was okay with that. My parents eventually stopped trying to force reconciliation. They saw that Jake and I were working things out in our own way, and they backed off. The kids grew up. When Ashton turned 16, he actually sought me out at a family gathering. I remember that time we stayed with you, he said. Mom and Dad told us you volunteered, that you were excited to have us, but I remember you seemed really stressed, and I remember them fighting with you when they picked us up. What actually happened? I gave him an age-appropriate version of the truth. He was quiet for a while. That was messed up, he finally said. I'm sorry they did that to you. You were a kid, it wasn't your fault. Still, I'm sorry. It was healing in a way I didn't expect. Now, 3 years after the Maldives disaster, my relationship with Jake is cordial. We see each other at family events. We exchange pleasantries. He paid me back in full, every cent of the original $3,000 plus the $2,000 we'd agreed on. We're not close, we probably never will be again, but we've reached a peaceful equilibrium. Chen and I are stronger than ever. We took that trip to visit his parents, finally. We're talking about buying a bigger house. We might have kids someday, though after the Maldives disaster, I'm a lot more cautious about the idea. My mother asked me once if I regretted how I handled everything, if I wished I'd just let it go. No, I told her, I don't regret standing up for myself. It damaged your relationship with your brother. He damaged it first. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. She didn't like that answer, but she accepted it. I think about those 13 days sometimes, how they were a breaking point, a moment where I had to decide who I was going to be. Was I going to keep letting my brother use me to keep the peace, or was I going to stand up for myself, even if it meant family drama and uncomfortable conversations? I chose myself, and I'd make the same choice again. The kids are doing okay, from what I hear. Ashton is actually thriving in high school. Braylee is in dance and apparently very good. Jordan is fully potty trained and no longer has the meltdowns she used to have. Jake and Monica are still together, apparently doing better after their couples therapy. In me, I'm doing well. I have stronger boundaries. I have a clearer sense of who I am and what I will and won't tolerate. I have a marriage that survived a major stress test. I have family, both blood and chosen, who respect me. Was it worth it? The lawsuits, the drama, the fractured relationships? Yeah, it was. Because the alternative was continuing to be the person everyone walked over, the person who was so nice and so helpful and so understanding while being taken advantage of at every turn. I'm not that person anymore, and I'm grateful to Jake, in a weird way, for pushing me so far that I finally pushed back. Sometimes you have to burn down the old structure to build something better. My family burned, but from the ashes, I built something more authentic, something based on mutual respect instead of one-sided sacrifice. I still get angry when I think about those 13 days, the panic when Jordan had a fever and I couldn't reach her parents, the exhaustion, the violation of trust, but I also feel proud of how I handled it. I didn't just roll over, I didn't just accept it, I fought back in every way I could. And in the end, I won, not in the way I expected maybe, but in the ways that mattered. So if my brother ever reads this, if he ever stumbles across this story and recognizes himself, I hope you've learned. I hope you treat people better now. I hope your kids grow up to set better boundaries than you did. And if anyone else is reading this, dealing with their own version of this situation, their own family member who takes and takes and takes, stand up for yourself. It's hard, it's messy, it might damage relationships. But some relationships need to be damaged before they can be rebuilt into something healthier. Some boundaries need to be enforced with lawsuits and public confrontations and burned bridges. And sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let the relationship with someone else burn. I saved myself, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. The real kicker, last month, Monica called me. Not Jake, Monica. She wanted to ask if I'd watch the kids for a weekend because they'd been invited to a wedding in Hawaii. I almost dropped my phone. You cannot be serious, I said. It's just 2 days, and we'd pay you this time, obviously. We've learned our lesson. The audacity, the sheer, unbelievable audacity. No. Come on, don't be like that. It's been 3 years. Are you really going to hold a grudge forever? I'm not holding a grudge, I'm maintaining a boundary. I don't provide childcare, find someone else. Everyone else is going to the wedding. You're literally our only option. Then I guess you're not going to the wedding, or you're taking your kids with you, or you're paying a professional babysitter, but I'm not doing it. She tried guilt, she tried anger, she tried bargaining, none of it worked. Finally, she said, fine, I'll tell Jake you refuse to help us, again. You do that. She hung up. 10 minutes later, Jake called. Really, you won't watch the kids for 2 days? Nope. I thought we were past this. We are past the lawsuit and the drama. We're not past me having boundaries about childcare. I told you after the Maldives thing, never again, I meant it. They're your nieces and nephew. And they're your children, your responsibility, not mine. He argued for a while longer before giving up. Later, I heard through my Aunt Carol that they'd ended up paying a babysitting service nearly $800 for the weekend. Monica was furious about the cost. I felt zero sympathy. Chen asked if I ever felt bad about saying no. Not even a little bit, I told him. That's the thing about boundaries. Once you establish them, maintaining them gets easier. And it's true, that first no to Jake about the wedding was effortless compared to the nightmare of the Maldives situation, because I knew my worth now. I knew I didn't owe anyone unlimited access to my time, my money, my energy, just because we shared DNA. My therapist, who I started seeing after the Christmas blow-up, calls it radical self-respect. The idea that respecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary, that you can't pour from an empty cup, and people who demand you keep pouring are the problem, not you for saying the cup is empty. I wish I'd learned that lesson earlier. I wish I'd set boundaries with Jake years ago, the first time he borrowed money and didn't pay it back, the first time he made a promise and broke it, the first time he prioritized his wants over my needs. But better late than never. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just accepted those 13 days without fighting back. If I'd let Jake and Monica get away with it, paid for everything myself, never mentioned it again. Our relationship would probably be better in the sense that there'd be no overt conflict. My parents would be happier with me. Family events would be less tense. But I'd be worse. I'd be the person who lets herself be used. I'd be teaching Jake that his behavior was acceptable. I'd be modeling for his kids that it's okay to treat people badly as long as they're family. So no, I don't regret it, any of it. The lawsuit, the confrontations, the boundaries, the burned bridges. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that my brother put me in a position where I had to choose between my peace and his convenience. But given that choice, I'll choose my peace every single time. And I'm teaching myself that choosing my peace doesn't make me selfish. It makes me healthy. That's the real end of this story, not the lawsuit, not the repayment, not even the tentative reconciliation. The real end is me learning to put myself first, learning that I matter, learning that my time, my money, my energy, my boundaries, they all matter. And anyone who can't respect that doesn't deserve access to me, even if they're family, especially if they're family. Because family should be the people who treat you the best, not the people who get away with treating you the worst. And I finally understand that now. So yeah, my brother surprised his wife with the Maldives by dropping his kids at my place for 10 days without asking, and I surprised him back by refusing to ever be his doormat again. I think I got the better end of that deal.